Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm going to be talking to you about cognitive behavioural therapy and how it has helped me and changed certain aspects of my life. So if you're interested to hear more about CBT, please do keep on watching. You may also want to grab a cup of tea like mine. This is my new mug with all my serial killers on it. So yeah, go and grab a cuppa. I'm going to keep this video fairly basic so it doesn't go on for too long. However, if you would like more in-depth information and want to know a little bit more about the process or even my story with mental health and CBT, then do let me know and I'll be happy to make a more in-depth version of this video. But this is just going to be basically a little bit about CBT, the certain things that I found interesting, and then what has helped me. So it might go on for a bit, but I don't want it to overrun. Cognitive behavioural therapy is a psychosocial intervention that aims to improve mental health. CBT focuses on challenging and changing unhelpful cognitive distortions and behaviours, improving emotional regulation, and the development of personal coping strategies that target solving current problems. CBT can help to treat things such as depression, anxiety, OCD, bulimia, panic disorder, stress and post-traumatic stress disorder. My story is in January of this year I went back to my GP and I asked about being put back on to fluoxetine for my depression and anxiety, as I could feel myself falling back down a black hole again. This time I was suggested that I also try a course of therapy. So for the first time in 7 years, I decided that that would probably be a good idea. So I signed up to be on the iTalk waiting list. At the end of February, I had an over-the-phone assessment with iTalk and we talked about everything going on in my life. They then took everything we spoke about into consideration, and at the beginning of April, I had another team at Waterford House. This is where we decided what sort of therapy I would like to try. So I had a second assessment with Waterford House, and that's where we discussed what therapy I should consider so I could move on to the next step. iTalk actually wanted me to try the traditional sit down and talk about things kind of counselling, but I was keen to try CBT because I am a big lover of setting goals, and it works on the basis of changing thoughts and setting goals. So it sounded like the right one that I would want to try at this time. So I was sent a link to a site called Silver Cloud, where I basically did my own CBT, as during this it wasn't possible to go down the traditional route due to the coronavirus. However, my situation is getting reviewed again on the 22nd of July. Some of the things that I found interesting, I'm just going to read them as I've written them. I'm trying to make this make sense, but I also don't want to sound like I don't know what I'm talking about, because I'm not, I'm not professional. I can't treat people. That's one way of saying it. I can only go off what I have learned and what I have experienced. So I'm just going to read things how I've written them, and hopefully something might, I don't know. CBT is about rebalancing thoughts that are overly negative and thoughts that do not consider all of the facts. There are thinking traps such as blowing things out of proportion, jumping to conclusions, a negative filter, emotional reasoning such as I feel it so therefore it's real, word prisons, and labelling. For example, I'm stupid because I forgot their name. Negative thoughts associated with depression are intense, automatic, and absolute, meaning that what you are feeling is absolutely true and valid to you. For example, that despair you feel, that somebody without depression or anxiety is still valid and very real. So for example, say you're going through something really minor, like maybe you bumped into somebody you didn't want to see that day, and most people without depression or anxiety would just kind of be like, oh, and you know, let go of it, whereas you might absolutely feel terrible and distraught and really anxious and upset and angry that you've had to bump into that person. That's just an example, but that is absolutely valid for you to feel that way. It's absolutely fine, you know, try not to overthink it, basically. CBT recognises you as an expert on your own experiences and empowers you to make changes. It works best when you put the skills you learn into practice in your daily life. How the body reacts to stressful situations, the fight or flight response, they are common responses to unhelpful thoughts, and I'm going to be talking a little bit more about the fight flight response a little bit later in the video, as it is something that has personally helped me understand a little bit better about how my brain works. Rumination is when you turn the same thoughts about problems over and over in your head and typically do nothing about it. Rumination will almost always make you feel worse. Mulling over distressing feelings in a passive manner, i.e. self-talk, negative self-talk, is a form of overthinking. So for example, if you say something bad happened, that I need to find an example. Say somebody did something, I am guilty of this and I will talk about it later on in the video as well. Say something did something that upset you, and you keep thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it until it becomes this huge problem. But what you don't do is actually say to this person, hey, you did this thing that has upset me. So they will probably keep doing that thing, and you'll keep overthinking it and overthinking it and overthinking it and overthinking it until it becomes this massive problem that you don't know how to get out of. And yeah, I'm a ruminator. A hot thought is a situation-specific thought that carries the strongest emotional change. So it's one way to recognise a hot thought is that it tends to match your mood. So these are some of the things that I have found that have helped me the most. For example, learning that I am a ruminator. I overthink things to the point that they actually become a problem. And I need to really step back and think, have I actually taken in all the facts? Because a lot of the time I don't, and I just assume something is one way when it might be another way. And a good way to try and, you know, stop that process of thinking is to actually talk. Talking to people and being honest and open, as vulnerable as that makes you, is usually a good way to help cut out any negativity. Learning how to break the cycle of depression actually is something that I found quite useful too. I've actually drawn a really rubbish little picture, but this is the cycle of depression. So basically you can start at any one of these points, but you will still go, if that makes sense. So we're going to start up here with negative thinking. So for example, you're thinking really negatively about yourself or a period of time, like maybe you think that, let's go to the extreme, okay? So you're sat there thinking, there is no point to life, there's no point to you, you are a bad person, everybody hates you, what is the point of being here? Well, that will lead to a low mood. So you'll be feeling sad, you'll be feeling desperate and despair and lonely and hurt, and you'll be digging yourself into a really big hole. Well, then that will lead to a loss of pleasure and achievement. So instead of going out and doing the things you love, maybe socialising, painting, singing, dancing, going to the pub, making videos, anything at all. For me, it was working on my festival. You won't be doing that because the low mood will affect you so much that you'll no longer want to do things that you love and get great satisfaction and achievement out of, which in turn will lead to reduced activity. So you might not leave your house, you might not get dressed, you might not brush your teeth, you might not brush your hair, you might sleep a lot, because everything is affecting that, if you know what I mean. And you can start anywhere. You could start with a low mood, which will then do this and then do that, and then that will cause you to think negatively. And it will just keep doing this until you break the cycle. You have to take a part of that away and do that with it, and then it can't keep going round in a circle. It will stop. So that's what you've got to try and do. So for example, if you are suddenly thinking negative, what you could do is go, right, I'm going to go for a walk. So you've instantly, rather than sitting there dwelling on it, causing your mood to be brought down, you've gone outside and you've actually achieved something. So you've actually gone from doing negative thinking and then going here to just going whoop. So you can't, which will lead you to feel like you've actually done something, which means you won't have a low mood. I hope that makes sense. But that helped me a lot. So whenever I get stuck in a rut, I'm not feeling particularly productive or creative, and I'm overthinking things to the point that I'm getting really upset and I can't dig myself out of the hole, what I do is I go for a walk, and if that doesn't work, I will sit and watch a movie with my family. If that doesn't work, I will read my book. If that doesn't work, I will do some singing. So at the end of the day, I have actually done a lot of things. Sometimes I'm still guilty of sitting there and dwelling on things, but you have to also acknowledge that that's absolutely fine if you do that. Nobody is expected to feel 100% all of the time. There will be good days, there will be bad days, but CBT helps you to recognise certain thought processes and things so that you can go, I'm feeling like this because of this, so therefore I'm going to do this and then I won't feel like this. I hope that makes sense a little bit. I know it's very confusing. Using hot thoughts can actually be a way of helping with rumination. For example, the situation might be somebody hasn't messaged you back, right? So your natural thought is, they don't want to talk to me, they hate me. But if you take a step back and look at the actual facts, so do I have any evidence that supports the fact that they hate me? No. Is there any evidence that doesn't support the fact that they hate me? No. So you're now going to have a balanced thought, which could be something like, they might just be busy. And that will make you feel a little bit better. So use hot thoughts and the moment to actually go, right, caught that thought, think about it a bit more, judge the evidence, bingo, got it, Because a lot of the time we can sit there and think things over too much. For example, if somebody doesn't reply to your message, you can end up thinking that they're angry at you, that they're ignoring you, that you have done something wrong, you've upset them, you've hurt them, all of this. You could be feeling like that. But if you take a step back and you look at the evidence, does the way I'm thinking support that? Is there evidence to support that? Well, no, not really, because I haven't actually done anything wrong. Is there any evidence that does support this? And if it's something minor like, well, I accidentally said that, but then you can get a balanced thought out of all of it, which might be, well, actually, they are quite busy and I think they're going through stuff themselves. So they might have just turned their phone off and haven't said anything. So you're sat here thinking, oh my God, they hate me. When in actual fact, they're probably, doing something completely different. And that still takes me a long time to sort of, think about. I can do it, but I often need to read back through all of my CBT notes, which I'll show you. Is in this folder. There is a lot of it. Sometimes I have to read back through that and go, oh, Jodie's having a moment, and hopefully that helps. Sometimes simply saying how you feel and why can actually help make an emotion less intense. So don't bottle things up, because if you bottle things up and you overthink things, that does usually equal a big, big mess. One way in which you could state how you're feeling and why is, for example, I am feeling anxious because I am in a new environment, and that is completely understandable, and hopefully that will make your anxiety feel a little less intense. Learning to accept compliments. This actually comes under self-esteem and that is something I could make a video on, because there are different things that CBT teaches you, but I picked up on that from that part of the course that I did. And I still find it very hard because I'm still not 100% keen on myself. Without trying to sound egotistical or like a narcissist, I do know or have some level of awareness that I am kind of attractive, I am kind, I am funny, I'm easy to talk to. Sort of, you know, I understand my traits, and, you know, the things that make me like a cool person. I do understand what they are. But sometimes it's hard to accept those coming from someone else when you're not used to liking yourself, or people leaving you despite your qualities. So when you're sat there thinking, like, most of the time I'll be sat there with my hair in a bun, no makeup on, in my pajamas, looking like absolute. So when somebody says, oh, you're really pretty, well, no, I'm not, because I look like a potato. Like, I look pretty now because I've made the effort. But 9 times out of 10, I genuinely look like a baked potato. I'm sorry, but I do. And if you've ever, like, FaceTime me, you will know that I am a potato. But when I make an effort to go out, like maybe meet a friend or something, I will look like this. So when they're like, you're really pretty, and you're like, really? Nah, this is all fake. Like, and sometimes it can be really hard, like when somebody's like, oh, you're so nice to talk to, you're really easy to get along with, I feel really comfortable around you. Sometimes that can make you go like that a bit, because you're not used to either people saying that, or people may have said that before and then buggered off. So you're kind of like, oh, they've given me a compliment, oh, when that happened last time, this happened, and then you're sort of less likely to accept that compliment, if that makes sense. Communication is a key to stress-free relationships, and active listening is key to communicating effectively. So, for example, when I went out with my ex, Jake, he would do something that would piss me off, to be quite frank, and I think we've all experienced that with all of our exes, to be honest. This isn't just Jake. He would do something that would annoy me, and he could usually tell that he'd done something, or something had happened, by my body language. Like, I would be quiet, I wouldn't really talk to him, I'll probably just be sat there like, and he'd be like, is everything okay? And I'd be like, yeah. Because I don't like confrontation, and I would generally avoid saying anything out of fear of having an argument or losing him. So I would just sort of be like, it doesn't matter. And then I would tell somebody else this thing that he's done that has annoyed me, and they'd be like, he's a dickhead, oh my god, you know, you should do this, that and the other. And then it would eat away at me, rumination again, it would eat away at me to the point that I'd probably end up saying something via text message, and he would be like, well, why don't you just blimmin' tell me that in person, because now it's a massive deal. If you just told me like 3 weeks ago, when you did this that upset me, I wouldn't have done it again, and we would have sorted it. And I'm like, oh yeah. But now I've read it, understood it, processed it, I get it now. So the thing about me now is I want to talk. So if we're not on the same wavelength, I want to talk about it. Or if I've done something that's upset you, please do tell me. And if you've done something that's upset me, I need to talk about it. I'm still guilty of not doing it out of fear of the reaction from the other person. But sometimes you've just got to put your big girl pants on and be like, hey, look, this thing that's happening right now isn't what I thought, isn't what I necessarily wanted or thought that I wanted to happen. Can this happen instead? And that person might go, yeah, sure, that's absolutely fine. Or they might go, oh my god, go away. But you've just got to like grow your little balls and do it. Because if you really like someone, whether it's a friend, a lover, a family member, anything, communication is absolutely key. And it's also very important to listen to somebody else when they are trying to tell you something. And I know it's really hard to instantly overreact, because I do that, because I get scared a lot. So my instant reaction is to be like, I shouldn't do that. What I should do is just, and then see what's going on, if that makes any sense. Also, I now also have an understanding of what my personal anxiety traits are. So for example, when I'm anxious, I will pick my scalp and I will just show you all around here, which goes all the way back to here actually, is just where I've picked. I do actually have a scab in here too, where I pick my ear. I have a scar here where I pick my head. I also pick in here. I pick on this side of my head as well. So if you see me sitting there doing this, I'm probably anxious. It might even just be a moderate level of anxiety, like I'm thinking about something, and I will just sit there and pick. But I pick my head an awful lot. I also bite my nails. I chew on my nails, even though they are kind of long, but I will sit there and just chew and chew and chew and chew and chew on my nails. And I don't know if you can see, that one's probably good. I do this a lot as well. So you know when you get that bit of skin and it just rips half your arm off? Yep, I do that too. I will also get really intense tummy aches. So, you know, if I'm in a situation where stress is arising, anxiety is, like I have to do something I'm not quite comfortable with, my tummy will be like, and it will just make you feel so sick and you won't know what to do. It's horrible. I hate having that. Luckily I haven't had like a tummy ache for quite a while now, so hopefully I'm getting better. Also my heart rate will increase, so I will probably be going like, and it's like say for example, when I had to go up on stage for Nozfest, there was like 500 people stood in front of me and I didn't really know what I was going to say because I hadn't rehearsed anything. So in that case, my heart rate was like, that's completely fine. Like that would happen to most people, if you understand what I mean. I also clench my jaw a lot. I don't know if that's just something that I do, because I'm always sat there doing this. Like even if I'm not stressed or anxious, I'm permanently like, argh. And sometimes when I am really anxious, it really aches. I've also noticed if I am on my antidepressants, that also makes me clench my jaw more. I don't know how that works, but I'm usually like sat there going like, and I don't know why. I also have recently found out that I recently found myself bumping into things, because I think there's like a second delay in my brain or something. Sorry, tea. Because I'm just walking into things, or I'll stand up and my head will go, what? And I googled it because I'm not doing anything different. Like I'm still having my normal routine, and apparently that's an anxiety thing as well. Like sometimes, you know, like maybe I'm thinking about a certain thought a bit too much. So rather than concentrating on where I'm walking, I'm thinking about something else. So I'll just end up walking into things because my brain's more concentrated on the way I'm thinking and feeling than actually where I'm going. I think that makes sense. There is also a thoughts, feelings and behaviours cycle. So for example, I'm just going to use, it's again a bit like this, so there's like different points. I didn't draw a thing for it because you don't really need it. But basically you start off at the top. So for example, you're in a crowd of people. So your feeling would be anxiety, like you're feeling anxious. And then you need to judge what level of anxiety you're feeling. Are you 1 or are you 10? 1 being nah, and 10 being like, oh my god, this is serious, you know, what level you're on. And then you need to think about what your physical reaction is, because you will have a physical reaction. For example, you might start sweating, you might start shaking, or your heart rate might increase. Then your behaviour would be, I'm just not going to talk to anybody. You might not socialise. You might just sit there and withdraw from the actual atmosphere. And your thought process might be, I don't fit in. I don't fit in with this crowd of people. They don't like me. They're going to judge me, sort of thing. However, again, if you cut one thing out of that cycle, the cycle can't happen. So say you're in a big crowd of people, you're feeling anxious, you're sweating. Maybe maybe just either take somebody that you know aside and say, hey man, I'm feeling quite anxious, could we go somewhere a bit quieter, or could you tell me a little bit more about these people that we're now hanging out with, so that my thought process isn't instantly like they don't like me. It gets like communication, changing your thoughts, that can help you. And to be fair, I haven't actually had any anxiety about meeting people for a long time now, which is good for me, because usually I hate meeting people, and I hate meeting people's friends, and I hate socialising. Like, one of the worst things for me would be going to the pub. Not my thing at all, not my thing. And now I'm always at the blimmin' pub. So it's really strange how like something like this can really change your life. Now, back on to the fight or flight response. So you can use this to help ground you. For example, your body has physical reactions to situations, and this is a protective, automatic reaction, meaning being anxious and, you know, shaking. You're shaking because you're anxious, right? Well, that is your body. Your body is rapidly digesting glucose, which in turn increases the adrenaline in your body, which will cause you to shake. So when your body has this response to a situation, maybe sit and think, my body's doing this, like my body is making glucose, rather than I'm anxious. I don't know if that will work, because I haven't really thought too much. I just know that maybe if I'm picking or doing this, I know that I am anxious, but I need to just, it's annoying me, yeah. If you are maybe shaking or sweating, that could be a sign that your body is producing a certain chemical, or it's doing a certain thing, because bodies have weird, bodies are very clever, and it's just your natural, like say if somebody's in your face, be like, come on mate, and you punch them, that's your fight-flight response. Your body's instantly going, and it's the same with anxiety. You'll sit there and you'll start shaking because, you know, but your body's doing that because it's, you know, it's increasing your adrenaline so you can cope with the situation. So if you sort of think about that a little bit, it might make you less, you know, like I'm shaking because I'm anxious, and more like, well, my body's just doing my body thing. I don't know, I have not tried this technique, but I did find that quite interesting, and it is something I sometimes do think about. It's also really important to remember that thoughts are not facts. Again, this is something that I really need to remember, because just because I am having this thought doesn't mean it's true. For example, I didn't think this person liked me, so I was like, yeah, they don't like me. But then when I actually said, well, I didn't think you liked me, their response was, well, what gave you that idea? And to be honest, I don't know. There was no reason for me to think that at all, but I thought that because that's just how my brain works. But when you actually put the facts together, your thought isn't real, right? You're just thinking that because anxiety, stress, depression, stuff, you know, you're just thinking these things. They are not facts. And lastly, I have control over how I think and feel. If I want to wallow and be sad, I am with my right to do so. And people saying, get over it, like, move on, that isn't helpful, ever. That is the most useless piece of advice you could ever give to somebody. Don't do that. Don't be that person, because it's not that simple. However, I also do have the ability and power to say, today I'm not going to be sad. So yesterday I was really sad, today I'm like, I'm not going to be sad, today I'm going to do things. But it's within my right to sit there and be like, you know what, today I do need to be sad, because it will help me process things in my mind. And then maybe another day I will be like, do you know what, I don't feel like being sad today, today's going to be a productive day. And you're allowed to do that. And if you are going through a really rough patch, and somebody has given you the advice of just get over it, I understand how infuriating that is, because I get it on the daily. I get, just get over it, move on, leave it, fuck it. And I'm like, no, because my brain doesn't work like that. and simply telling me to get over it doesn't make me go, I'm over it now. Like, it just doesn't work like that. So please don't be that person towards people, because mental health is very important and there's a lot more depth to it than what people actually think. I'm just going to insert a little bit here about how I think I have changed since having CBT. When I first had CBT, before I had CBT, I was a very anxious person. I was very antisocial. I was very much in my own little bubble, and I didn't like other people coming into it at all. So I think I kind of gave off this, maybe not negative vibe, but I was very reserved, very like, oh, I don't know about this. And I looked completely different as well. Like, my whole image was very dark, I would have to put a lot of makeup on to give me confidence, and it wasn't necessarily like layers and layers of foundation. It would be like lines, crosses, dots, and I still absolutely love like that kind of makeup. But instead of doing that because, you know, I love it, which I do, I was kind of more doing it because I was hiding behind it. Like, people would like look at that and be like, she's confident, when in actual fact I wasn't, if that makes sense. Whereas now I wear clothes that I've always wanted to wear. I wear a lot of crop tops. I'm happy to get my midriff out. Not always, because sometimes, you know, women's problems make you bloat and shit. So sometimes I don't like it, but I'm much more comfortable wearing a skirt. I like my legs, I like my arms, I like my boobs, I like my face. I like things about me for like the first time. And you may have noticed that basically all I do now is just contour and put eyelashes on. Well, I put lipstick on too, but that's all I do, and I look so much better, and I look happier, and I feel happier, and that is since I had CBT. Really, I can't explain how it really, just one morning I woke up and like the world made sense a bit more. Do you know what I mean? But it took a long time to get there. So if you are struggling, you will get there eventually, and you will still have bad days, because I still have bad days and I still use bad coping mechanisms, like, you know, maybe having a little bit too much to drink. I try not to do that anymore, because I know that alcohol is a depressant and it does make me worse. So I try to stay clear of it. And, you know, I mean, the other day I had quite a bit of vodka. I won't lie. But otherwise, I'll have like maybe a glass of wine like once a month. I really don't drink that much. She says while she's been at the pub, but I've just been out socialising for like the first time in about a year. Actually. I hadn't really socialised, made new friends, left my house. Wow, in a literal year. That is quite insane. And I will say now, if you do actually want like my story and like my mental health journey to get where I am now, let me know, because I will make a video. I do want to talk about it, maybe not every single part of what went on, but I would really like to maybe talk about it. So if you would like to hear what I went through, because it might help you or something, please do get in touch, because I'd be more than happy to try and help there. But if you do see like pictures of me online or my posts or anything, and it makes you stop and think for a second, like, wow, she's doing really well, that could be you too. That could be you as well. So please don't give up the hope. And if you are on the waiting list for CBT, or you have the ability to go to your GP and ask about CBT and you think that it could help you, please do it. I know it's scary, because I didn't. It took me 7 years to actually do it. But if you feel that maybe it could help you, please do it. It's so worthwhile. And what really, you know, what's going to happen if you don't do it? There is no losing situation. So that's all I can say, really. I hope this video has been somewhat interesting and maybe an insight. Hopefully it's helped somebody. I really hope it's helped somebody. But if you have liked this video, please do give it a big thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more from me, then feel free to subscribe to my channel. And I will see you guys very soon. Love you. Bye.